Welcome to GE Fun Facts Online. Today, we are going to talk about the invisible revolution happening in the walls of data centers and beneath our oceans, a shift in physics that changes how we communicate. For over 50 years, the internet has been built on a single, brilliant premise: trapping light inside glass. We call it fiber optics. We have perfected this technology to a point where we can span oceans with pulses of light, doping the silica, drawing it out, and multiplexing signals until we have hit the hard, physical limits of the material itself. But for all its brilliance, glass has a flaw. It is slow. And today, we are going to explore how engineers are fixing this by getting rid of the glass entirely and sending the internet through nothing at all. This is the story of anti-resonant hollow core fiber. To understand why this matters, we have to look at the incumbent technology, standard single-mode fiber, or SMF. The history here is a triumph of material science. Back in the mid-20th century, the idea of using light for long-distance communication was considered impossible because the glass available at the time was too impure. Light would lose 99% of its intensity after traveling just a few meters. It was Charles Cow in 1966 who theorized that if we could purify glass to remove water and metallic impurities, we could transmit light over kilometers. He was right. By the 1970s, Corning produced the first low-loss fibers, and the telecommunications boom began. Standard fiber works on the principle of total internal reflection. Imagine a solid core of glass doped with germanium to increase its refractive index, surrounded by a cladding of pure silica with a lower refractive index. When light tries to escape the core, the boundary acts like a perfect mirror, bouncing the light back in. It is an elegant, robust system. However, it is governed by the refractive index of silica, which is approximately 1.45. The speed of light in a vacuum is roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. But inside glass, speed equals the speed of light in a vacuum divided by that refractive index. That math works out to about 206,896 kilometers per second. This means light in fiber is traveling about 31% slower than it does in a vacuum. For a casual user streaming a movie, this delay is imperceptible. But physics is physics. For every kilometer of fiber, light takes about 4.9 microseconds to travel. In air, it would take only 3.3 microseconds. That difference, roughly 1.6 microseconds per kilometer, is the latency tax we pay for using glass. For decades, this didn't matter because the electronics were slower than the light. But today, in the world of high-frequency trading where trades execute in nanoseconds, or in massive AI clusters trying to synchronize 1 trillion parameters across thousands of GPUs, this glass latency has become an intolerable bottleneck. Furthermore, glass is a material, meaning it interacts with light. If you push too much power into a solid core, the glass reacts non-linearly. It distorts the signal through self-phase modulation or mixes frequencies through four-wave mixing. In extreme cases, you get a fiber fuse, where the fiber literally melts. This imposes a hard limit on how much information we can squeeze into a single strand. To break these limits, engineers realized we needed a fiber where the light doesn't travel through glass. We needed a fiber with a core of air. This brings us to the physics of guiding light in nothing. The concept is intuitive but physically baffling. If the core is air, which has a refractive index of 1.0, and the cladding is glass, with an index of 1.45, total internal reflection is impossible. Physics dictates that TIR only works when light travels from a high-index medium to a low-index medium. If you shine a light down a simple glass tube, it will simply refract out through the walls and vanish. For years, this seemed insurmountable. The first major step forward was the photonic bandgap fiber in the 1990s, pioneered by Philip Russell at the University of Southampton. These fibers looked like a honeycomb in cross-section. The cladding was a complex crystal lattice of tiny air holes that created a forbidden zone for light. It trapped light in the core not by reflection but by exclusion. These proved that guiding light in air was possible, but they had high signal loss and narrow bandwidths. The real breakthrough, and the technology reshaping the industry today, is the anti-resonant hollow core fiber, specifically a design often called the revolver fiber. Instead of a complex honeycomb, the cladding consists of a single ring of thin glass capillaries or tubes surrounding the central air core. It looks like the cylinder of a revolver. This works on a principle similar to a Fabry-Perot interferometer. The wall thickness of these glass tubes is tuned precisely so that light trying to leak out resonates within the glass wall and is reflected back into the core. It is, in essence, a leaky waveguide that has been engineered to be 99.99% reflective. But the real magic happens with the geometry known as negative curvature. In a simple circular tube, the boundary curves toward the light, which encourages the light to couple into the glass and leak out. In the revolver design, the convex shape of the capillaries means the boundary facing the core curves away from the light. This negative curvature drastically reduces the spatial overlap between the light signal and the glass. The current state-of-the-art takes this even further with the Nested Anti-Resonant Nodeless Fiber, or NANF. In a NANF design, inside each cladding tube, there is another smaller tube nested inside. This tube within a tube design creates a double barrier. If any light manages to tunnel through the first layer of anti-resonant glass, it hits the second layer and is reflected back. This mechanism is called inhibited coupling. It is so effective that less than 0.01% of the light travels in the glass. 99.99% travels in the air. As of 2025, researchers have demonstrated NANF fibers with losses approaching 0.174 decibels per kilometer. That matches the very best solid fibers available, but with all the benefits of air. So, what are those benefits? Why go through all this trouble? The first and most obvious is speed. By traveling in air, signals move at roughly 299,700 kilometers per second. That saves about 1.54 microseconds per kilometer. On a link between London and Frankfurt, this saves milliseconds. But the impact is even greater in supercomputing. In a modern AI cluster, thousands of GPUs are constantly exchanging data. If one GPU is waiting for data, it sits idle. This is called tail latency. By using hollow core fiber for the interconnects, engineers can reduce this latency, boosting the overall efficiency of the supercomputer by 10 to 20%. The second advantage is ultra-low nonlinearity. Because air is a gas, it does not suffer from the Kerr effect like glass does. In solid fiber, high optical power changes the refractive index of the glass, distorting the signal. In a hollow core, you can blast high-power signals without distortion. This allows for simpler, higher-power transceivers and reduces the need for complex error correction, which further reduces latency. The third advantage is thermal stability. Glass expands and changes its index with temperature. Air is thermally stable. This makes hollow core fibers ideal for precision scientific instruments or quantum key distribution, where the phase of the light must remain perfectly stable against environmental changes. However, building these fibers is an act of extreme artisanal precision. The process is known as stack and draw. Engineers begin with high-purity silica tubes, manually stacking them into a larger glass jacket to create the macroscopic pattern of the fiber, called the preform. This preform is then placed at the top of a fiber draw tower, a multi-story vertical furnace. The tip is heated to 2000 degrees Celsius until the glass softens and falls under gravity. The challenge is the pressure game. As the fiber is pulled down into a hair-thin strand, just 125 microns wide, surface tension wants to collapse the internal structure into a solid blob. To prevent this, engineers attach precise pressure control lines to the different regions of the preform. They pressurize the internal tubes to keep them inflated against the crushing force of surface tension. The pressure must be controlled to within fractions of a pascal, while the fiber is being drawn at speeds of hundreds of meters per minute. A variation of just a few nanometers in wall thickness can ruin the anti-resonant effect. Once the fiber is made, you face the problem of how to use it. You cannot simply weld a hollow tube to a solid block of glass. If you leave the end open in a humid data center, moisture will enter, condense on the thin glass webs, and destroy the guidance. Dust is catastrophic. Solving this required a new suite of interconnect technologies, such as thermally expanded core splicing, where the solid fiber is heated to expand its mode field to match the hollow fiber, and the use of fused end caps to hermetically seal the hollow fiber, while allowing light to pass. So who is buying this? The market adoption started with a race to zero in high-frequency trading. In a market where being second means losing money, the cost of the fiber is irrelevant compared to the speed advantage. Firms like DRW and Jump Trading were early backers, replacing microwave links with hollow core fiber to get the reliability of a cable with the speed of air. But the biggest shift came from the cloud. In December 2022, Microsoft acquired Luminicity, a leading startup in this field. Microsoft didn't do this for stock trading. They did it for Azure and AI. By using hollow core fiber, Microsoft can spread out their data centers, placing memory and compute further apart without a performance penalty. This enables a concept called disaggregated computing. Additionally, hollow core fiber offers unique security benefits. It is incredibly sensitive to tampering. Any attempt to tap the fiber disturbs the resonance and cuts the signal instantly, providing physical layer security for government and military clouds. Beyond data, this technology is revolutionizing medicine and industry. Surgeons use CO2 lasers for precise cutting, but solid glass absorbs that wavelength. Hollow core fibers can deliver these high-power laser beams flexibly into the body. Similarly, industrial welding lasers used for electric vehicle batteries require delivery fibers that can withstand immense power density. Hollow core handles this effortlessly, because there is no material to heat up. We are currently in the early commercial phase of anti-resonant hollow core fibers. The physics is proven, and the manufacturing is scaling. Companies like Corning, OFS, and BT are all moving into the space. The remaining hurdles are cost and scale. Currently, hollow core fiber is significantly more expensive than standard fiber. likely 10 to 50 times the cost per meter, due to the slow draw speeds and complex preforms. However, as with all technology, yield improves with volume. We likely won't see hollow core fiber connecting to our homes anytime soon. Standard glass is fast enough for streaming video. But for the backbone of the internet, the submarine cables, the data center interconnects, and the nervous system of the global economy, the future is hollow. For 50 years, we believed that the best way to move information was to trap it inside a solid. We were wrong. By mimicking the vacuum of space within a strand of glass, anti-resonant hollow core fibers have broken the shackles of refractive index. They have given us a medium that is faster, clearer, and more powerful than anything nature provided. The glass age of the internet is not ending, but it is evolving. The next generation of light won't be traveling through glass. It will be traveling through the air, guided by a whisper of silica, racing toward the theoretical limit of the universe. The latency tax has been repealed, and the void is open for business. Thanks for listening to this deep dive on G Fun Facts Online.